My name is Emily Zimmerman, and I will be talking in this room about an innovation that was developed to confront concerns held by users of long-acting reversible contraceptives, or LARCs. This was work that Ideas 42 conducted in collaboration with Marie Stopes Uganda, and I am hopeful that my colleague Andrew Gadudu from the Marie Stopes Uganda team will be able to rejoin us. He was on the line and he may chime in the chat with some additional reflections and clarifications. So just to set the stage a bit about the context in which these solutions were developed and employed, Marie Stopes Uganda provides family planning services through a variety of different channels, including mobile outreach clinics that visit communities, often remote communities, periodically, and provide services on a single day. In advance and in between those clinic days, community-based mobilizers do outreach with clients and speak with current and prospective clients about the services that are available in clinics and encourage them to consider family planning and to visit clinics for information and services. We know that between clinic days, especially in more remote areas, clients often have few resources to turn to for support with their concerns and answers to their questions. And as a result, they turn to mobilizers as a trusted resource. But we also know that mobilizers aren't trained health workers and that they don't have the clinical background or the information always to respond to clients' concerns in a way that's clinically accurate, but also satisfactory to the client and able to point them toward an answer that, that resolves their concern. So just to share very quickly some of the drivers of discontinuation that we found in our research and that the solutions aim to address. We found, as is true across many different settings, that fear of side effects is very strong and that the fears that women hold of the side effects they experience are often rooted in myths and misconceptions about family planning. So when a woman experiences, for example, changes to her monthly bleeding, she's mostly worried about the impact that she thinks those changes might suggest for her own health, for her future fertility, or for the health of her future children. Another thing we found is that there's a lot of misattribution of other health issues that women experience to the LARCs that they're using. And we found that for women, for mobilizers and also for providers and clinics, there aren't a lot of cues to help them consider alternatives to discontinuation in the event a client has a concern. And those alternatives might include side effects management or switching methods, rather than stopping using contraception entirely. So with that in mind, we developed two primary tools that are used by community-based mobilizers and by providers in clinics. The first is an FP fax flipchart that helps respond to client concerns, and the second is a service referral card that helps to guide clients toward the service options that may be most relevant for their needs. So just for purposes of illustrating a small slice of these solutions more concretely, I want to ask you to imagine that you are a LARC user and that you have a concern about the method that you're using, that you bring to a mobilizer in your community. And you'll see on this slide 3 examples of concerns that were very common in the communities that we worked in Uganda. And I want to just ask you to choose one of these that you'd like to see the response to, and either unmute yourself and speak up or drop in the chat which one you would like to see the response to.
Would you rather choose? I'm worried that my view will hurt my partner doing sex.
Okay, great. We'll start with this one. So in the event you raised this concern with a mobilizer, they would show you this page of the FP fax flipchart. And this page starts by stating a basic fact, which is that the coil or the IUD sits where babies grow. and it poses a question to the client. In this case, can the man feel the baby when you have sex when you're pregnant? You'll see on the right side, the slightly more detailed version that's on the mobilizer facing side of the flip chart that has a little bit more information. And it shows in the pink box at the bottom, the conclusion that we hope the client will come to as a result of thinking about these questions and the discussion that follows. These materials do a couple of things that are important from a behavioral perspective. And the first one is that they focus exclusively on stating the facts. So nowhere on the materials do they state the myth that this is intended to confront. And the reason for that is that research shows us that restating myths, even when it's done in the context of trying to dispel the myth or to correct a misconception, can inadvertently reinforce that myth by making it more familiar or by sending the signal that there are lots of people who believe that this incorrect thing is true. So the materials focus in on only stating the facts. The second thing that the materials do is start by posing a question to the client. So rather than telling the client what conclusion they should draw, the materials ask a question and then support the mobilizer to have a conversation with the client to help the client come to their own conclusion. And you'll see in the pink box kind of a hint for the mobilizer about the conclusion that we hope clients will draw from this discussion so that they can guide it a little more actively. But we don't start up front by telling the client what they should think or what conclusion they should draw. We really hope to guide them to think through on their own. So if we have time at the end, we might come back to the other pages to illustrate those, but just in the interest of time, I want you to imagine that you have this conversation about your concern with a mobilizer and you feel better in some ways, but you still have some remaining questions and concerns and you want to know what else you can do. So in this case, the mobilizer would give you a referral card that looks like this. The referral card lists in very basic terms the different types of service options that are available in clinics. And this is to cue the mobilizer and the client to consider the range of different service options, which might include things like obtaining more information or reviewing a method that you have or managing side effects that you're experiencing, so that they're thinking about options that aren't just discontinuing a method because of a concern. It also includes the Marie Stopes hotline number that clients can call in advance of a clinic day. And we find that very often clients will call together with a mobilizer, especially if they don't have access to their own phone. And this is a way for them to get more information and reassurance about their methods in advance of being able to access services. And these referral cards do not list any identifying information for the client in any place. And that's to protect clients' privacy in the event that someone else sees the card or that it's lost. There's nothing concrete to tie it to a specific person. But the mobilizers keep a carbon copy of all of the cards on which they can write the client's name so that they can follow up with clients to make sure that their concerns were addressed and that they were able to access the services that they need. Just to quickly recap, these designs are intended to coordinate efforts between mobilizers and clinic-based providers. So in the community, they support mobilizers to respond to clients' concerns and to guide clients toward the relevant service options that might meet their needs. And in clinics, they reinforce through providers the same messages that clients are hearing from the mobilizers about myths and misconceptions. And the referral cards can be used by providers to guide individual counseling and to anticipate what clients might need when they enter a consultation in the clinic.